Big question. Is it okay if someone is better than you? The answer to this is a very satisfying, it depends. Because I feel like we could probably all agree that yes, it's okay. Like our rational brain understands that yes, it's okay. But what does it bother us or not? Like when does it bother us? Is it okay, like in your mind, do you feel super great about it if somebody's better than you? And I think in general, it depends. It depends whether you're okay with that or not. This is what I think it depends on right here. All right, so this is me. All right, this is you, this is us, okay? Let's say me likes to drum. Me likes to drum, okay? Me likes drum very good, me drum all time very good. Use lots of words, drum lots, okay? Kyle is also a drummer. Me and Kyle are both drummers. How comfortable is it for you to say, Kyle is a great drummer? Or even Kyle is better? How comfortable is that to say? Kyle is a better drummer than me. He's a very similar age to you. He's been playing drums about the same amount of time, maybe less time, let's say. Kyle's a better drummer than me. How exciting is that to say? So, this is best friend Kyle, bestie. This is Bob. He plays guitar. You guys like music, okay? How comfortable is it to say Bob is a great musician or a better musician, is a better musician? Which one of these is harder to say? Kyle is better or Bob is better? Harder to be okay with and excited about. I'm saying like, what takes more of a hit to your ego? Your best friend who's been playing drums like same as you, than Bob who plays guitar. You don't play guitar. You can't really compare the skills very well. What about this? Chad, you guys are all, let's say you all do streams. Chad plays Fortnite. Okay, so how hard is it to say, man, Chad is a great streamer. Chad is a better streamer than me. How hard is that to say? It's impossible to say. Okay, sure, it's impossible to say. So you see where I'm going with this, guys? The farther out you get, let's say Orange is 30 somethings. Okay, Haley is more talented. She's a dancer. Haley's really good at ballet. She's a lot more talented than me. It kind of starts to go like, yeah, I don't know, who cares? Does anybody feel that? The farther away you get from you, the less you care. Does that make sense? Like you versus Kyle, it's kind of a big deal. I don't care about a certain point, right? And Alice, who cares what Alice does? We're in a totally different context than Alice. I don't care if she's great. It doesn't matter. Like to me, being a drummer, whether I'm good at drums compared to whether Alice has a dog or not. Like it just doesn't make, who cares? Okay. This is a very, very important aspect of thinking about ourselves in a healthy way, especially when it comes to comparison. And it's called life context. It's the idea that when you get further away from a comparable thing, like when you get further away from like the context that you're in, the less and less and less that it actually matters, the things that you can compare, right? So here's the deal though. Every single person is different. This is one aspect of somebody's life, whether it's like their interest, right? Their talent. But that's like one aspect of the whole of your life. Think about that. Think about how different, E-West, you and Kyle are, right? Think about how different you are. You might be a similar age, let's say. You might have grown up in a similar place, right? You might have gone to the same school, but chances are your family dynamics are different. Your other interests are probably different. Your experience growing up has been different. Your relationships are different. There's like just a ton of stuff that's different. And so you are really your own context. And so what this does is this takes the power out of other stuff, right? Whereas before, Kyle was in the same square as you. He was a direct comparison. But if you think about it, Kyle's actually in a different square than you. And if we filled in all the blanks, he's probably like 70 squares off from you, right? Because he might have divorced parents, let's say, and your parents are together, or the opposite, right? He might have experienced a tragedy when he was 5 years old, and you experienced one when you were 8 years old, or maybe you didn't experience one. And each one of those is a box. And so really what it does is it moves Kyle way over here. It moves Kyle way over here. And that's because of context. Because if you consider all of the things that are different about your life versus somebody else's life, it doesn't actually make sense to compare them, just like you wouldn't compare yourself to Alice because she's not even a drummer. She's not even a 30-something, right? She isn't a streamer. She doesn't stream music. Who cares? So what this does is when you actually consider the context, this brings comparing yourself with Kyle into the who cares zone because he's a totally different context than you. Here's what this is like. Gosh, this drives me nuts, man, because I do this too. We all do this, okay? I've been computer shopping, right? There was Black Friday and everything. I was thinking about getting a new PC. Didn't end up getting one, but here's what happens, right? So we have this PC, right? If you're not into PCs or anything, if you don't know anything about a computer, it's okay. All you really need to know is that this part right here, this is the processor. This is how the computer thinks. It's like the brain of the computer, okay? It's a very important part on whether your computer is fast or not. So if you've ever used a slow computer that just like drags, part of the reason might be that it doesn't have a super powerful CPU, okay? A processor. So here's what happens. You go computer shopping and let's say you say, man, I really need a powerful CPU. Really need a powerful processor because I want my computer to fly off the handle, be blazing fast, crazy, right? So this processor, this needs to be the dopeness. Needs to be dope city, USA, okay? That part needs to be amazing, okay? And so you have different computers, right? And you compare them, you go, oh man, is this one better or worse? Well, let's look at the processor. Ooh, this one, if you don't know anything about processor, it's okay. We're going to use just pretend language, right? This processor has like, 1,000 points, let's say, in awesomeness. This one's 1,000 points. Anybody who knows stuff about computers is like, what are you talking about? But don't worry about it. It's okay. This one is 800 points. Which one's better? This one, right? The one with more points. The one that's better, right? So you start to compare these computers. But here's what's unfortunate. A computer is not just about the CPU. Okay, there can be some bad stuff happening with everything else, right? It can have a sucky hard drive, it can have sucky cooling, it can have no memory. It can just be really crappy, right? But have a better processor. Think about that. Okay, here's what we do with other people's lives. Here's what we do. This is what we do. Okay, this processor is 3,000 awesome points, and this one is the good old 1,000 AP, right? Which one are you going to fork over money to buy if you had to buy one of these? If somebody said, all right, I can sell you this one or this one, and you have to spend the money, which one would you fork over, right? The left one. It's obvious. It's idiotic to think that you would buy this one, right? Because it's actively burning. It's actually on fire. It's literally going to burn your house down, all right? Okay, it's literally going to do that. The fire does not mean blazing speed. This is not speed, it's fire. You're not going to get the one that's on fire. This is what we refer to in the business as life context. So the big question, is it okay if somebody's better than you? Is it okay if somebody's better than you? And what we're really talking about, I'm not talking about better all around. I'm talking about better in general. Well, I'm talking not in general. I'm talking about better about a specific thing, better at singing than you, okay? Better at playing drums than you. Well, think about the life context. And I'm not saying that like, oh, somebody could be better than you, but their whole life could suck, right? Although I guess you could make that thing. I'm saying that you cannot make a decision about an entire thing without the entire context. You can't do it and have it be reasonable at all. You can't do that without the context. Yet that's what we do. We say, oh man, I feel like a piece of crap because Kyle's better at drumming than I am. Well, that's one part of his whole life. I mean, that's one little part. This is what we do. Check this out. This is what comparison is, okay? This is comparison. What we do is we weigh each other. We compare with each other, right? But we don't put context on the scale. You ever think about that? We're comparing ourselves completely out of context. Comparison ignores life context. How can you expect that to be reasonable? How do you weigh context appropriately? That's the thing, is you can't. You can't, because it's so different. It's in the who cares realm. Everyone is Alice. Every other person in the whole world is Alice compared to you. Every other person. Because they're in such a different context, it makes no sense to compare them. And so what we need to do is take these comparisons that we're making, and again, because it makes no sense, because it's based on something that isn't true, we need to break that connection.